Um, Still on the trip. Um, at my paisan at my friend's house, at a nice weathered location. Uh, I wasn't going to do these streams, but I have to admit, I'm just so incredibly excited and happy about the incredible win uh, in Nevada. That just gets better and better by the day. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Bless, bless. Because Bernie Sanders is going to be the next president of the United States, because a bunch of mediocre people are having meltdowns all over cable news. It's just incredible. And I also really, really think awesome. Wherever you are, I love all of you. Wherever you are, canvas if you can, phone bank if you can, donate to Bernie if you can. I will just say up top real quick, it always helps if you hit us with super chats. And go to patreon.com/TMBS, patreon.com/TMBS. Grab your tickets to the North Door, April 3rd, Austin, Texas. Abby Martin, Anna Kasparian. I'm so excited about that live show. And first and foremost, become a patron at patreon.com/TMBS. Independent media is indispensable for everything we're doing. So I just wanted to run a few things by you guys. I'm at a friend's house, friend Sam. Uh, Real quick out of the gate, um, it will make you feel better if you go out and you knock on doors for Bernie Sanders. Interacting with your fellow citizens, your fellow human beings, your countrymen, and telling them about why this race is so important, why it matters so much. I'll get to the Chris Matthews impression in a second. And what the stakes are and what they can actually do is going to make you feel really good. Interacting with other human beings in a constructive purpose feels great. And it's actually the opposite, really, of all this kind of online toxicity. Thank you, George. Chris Matthews is having. I mean, James Carville. Here's the thing about James Carville. James Carville, of any of these people, Daniel, thank you. Go. Um, James Carville, of all of these people, should know better. James Carville's main campaigns, his main claims to fame, right, are Harris Wofford for Pennsylvania Senate. I believe that was in 1991, where he helped Harris Wofford win a massive upset on a campaign for national health insurance. Then his 92 campaign for Bill Clinton. Look, Bill Clinton was right wing and populist. And the whole campaign was devised on appeasing and appealing specifically to racism. Look up Bill Clinton signing the putting to death Ricky Ray Rector, who was a man who was mentally incapable. He was done. And Bill Clinton flew from New Hampshire to sign his death warrant. Bill Clinton did the Sister Soldier moment with Jesse Jackson. It was all about, and you can read in Stan Greensburg's book, who was Bill Clinton's pollster, how they specifically played a reactionary race politics. And that's inseparable from understanding Clintonism and the so-called third wave politics. And at the same time, and this was Carville's influence, I would say, they actually ran on national health care, progressive taxation, and a certain kind of mild Southern populism. So James Carville should actually understand this. But instead, I think, because he's just been so disconnected. And by the way, working with right wing figures abroad, like Goni de Lasada, who we're going to do an illicit history on in Bolivia, who was the right wing, could barely speak English president of Bolivia before Evo Morales. Then, of course, Evo governed for several terms, lifted millions out of poverty, and then was removed in a coup a couple of months ago. But James Carville, all this like people don't want to hear that shit. Well, he knows that people want to hear that shit because that was a major part of his campaign wins, actually. Some element of that populism. Now, Chris Matthews is just hilarious. The fact that Chris Matthews cannot even figure out, thank you for all the super chats, cannot even figure out how to How to do the fear mongering, insane nonsense he's talking about Sanders without reaching for World War II analogies is beyond me. Watching Bernie Sanders is like Casablanca. It's so upsetting. Thank you, Britt. Bernie Sanders is part of the brown shirts that are taking over the bar. They're taking over the bar, and it's just like World War II. Tip O'Neill wouldn't stand for it. It's very upsetting. I was talking to my imaginary friend, Bobby Kennedy, and he was saying that a Jew who wants Denmark is not going to be president. Um, Look, there's monetary self-interest. There's also just ideological overdeterminism, and that's what you see all across corporate news. There's one thing: if Tom Steyer and Mike Bloomberg aren't full of shit, that they could do if they actually care about getting rid of Donald Trump, and that is quit the presidential race, stop trying to buy the nomination and subvert democracy if you're Mike Bloomberg. Stop indulging yourself if you're Tom Steyer, Marty Funkhauser. You've already met Bernie Sanders. You get to tell your grandkids you were in a presidential debate or whatever, and spend tens of millions of dollars on aggressive voter registration efforts across the country. Register voters, particularly in Arizona. If we don't win Arizona, we don't beat Donald Trump. I was just talking with Ryan Grimm about this. Get rid of, pay off the voter suppression against felons. They've had their voting rights restored in Florida, but now they need to pay a fine, and another act of discrimination and injustice, an act against voting rights. Pay off those debts. Fund voter rights campaigns and voter mobilizations across the country. They could be using a fraction, although they should be using all of what they're spending to run for president, on voting rights, on civil rights around voting, fighting voter suppression efforts, and electing absolutely registering absolutely every single person who must vote in order for Bernie Sanders to defeat Donald Trump in November. And that's what you should be tweeting at Mike Bloomberg and Tom Steyer. If this is anything other than a joke, if this is anything other than a authoritarian exercise on Mike Bloomberg's part, or a fantasy, a solidarity with Sinn Féin, or this kind of fantasy nonsense from Tom Steyer, they would be doing that. Get the money out there to register voters. Get the money out there to take on voting rights. That's what you need to do. That's how they could prove that they were remotely serious about this effort of saving this country and this globe from the Republican Party. And of course, in order to do that, we all know what that means. It's electing Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the choice. That's it. Bernie Sanders, if we have a proper democracy and the Democratic Party, is going to be the nominee. Bernie Sanders is going to be the one who, look, beating Donald Trump is going to be incredibly hard. Impeachments, the way they did it is, thank you, Ed, has obviously backfired. His approval ratings are up. He is the first net positive in a Gallup. And the melodrama of the liberal class that has not fought him on substantive grounds, whether it be the terrorism at the border and all of the other horrific class warfare, top-down class warfare that Trump has engaged in. He's going to be hard, 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 hard to beat. And Bernie Sanders is the only one who could beat him. We shouldn't be confident or complacent. It's going to be incredibly hard. And we know that the oligarch class is going to be next against Bernie. We know that all of the, or most of all the, media, never Trump bullshit, they'll flip for Trump because at the end of the day, they're concerned about styles and manners, but they don't care about human beings and they don't care about the future ecology of the planet. So this is a serious bottom-up fight, and it's going to require absolutely everything. And the one constructive thing that a Mike Bloomberg or Tom Steyer could do is register voters and fight efforts at voter suppression. I'm going to be in Massachusetts, in Boston on Sunday. I'm doing a live podcast with Daniel Denver and Brianna Joy Gray, and then we're going to do a canvas. We need to win Massachusetts because we need to stop this delusional nonsense with Elizabeth Warren. She is there. Look, whatever the motivations are, the function is wrecking. And the only way that any of them could think about winning the nomination at this point is going to involve some scenario where the person with less votes becomes the nominee. And anybody who fashions himself as some type of progressive would never engage in that. So she would have obviously immediately dropped out and endorsed Bernie Sanders, especially after she places third, fourth, or likely fifth in South Carolina, maybe fourth. So we're going to go up to Massachusetts. It's really important that Bernie win Massachusetts. And I'm looking forward to that canvas. I love Marianne Williamson. She was always my second choice, as everybody knows. And now my second choice has endorsed my first choice. Look, a lot of people it's a joke for, and I get, obviously Marianne has some things that I disagree with or whatever, but the left does need spirituality. The left does need also a positive, optimistic vision. The left needs people who are unafraid to talk about love, who are unafraid to talk about those things. That actually matters. Of course, I think nobody does that better than Cornel West, but I think actually Marianne Williamson's got some great energy around that I have a hell of a lot of respect for. And look, she's bad on any number of issues, whatever. I think she's great. Um, and look, she's endorsing Bernie. That's the bottom line. She's way ahead of the curve. Where's everybody else? Where's Beto O'Rourke? Where's Beto O'Rourke? Where's that? Max Boot having a tantrum about Bernie talking about abolishing the CIA in the 70s. Well, let me just say this. Max Boot is one of these guys that, like Donald Trump, apparently taught them that racism is a thing. So I just want to say that there is, opportunity for Max Boot to do more reading. He should be reading on the Condor years. He should be reading about how the CIA backed and coordinated death squads that murdered tens of thousands of people and waged coups in Latin America, going back to Guatemala and up to today in Bolivia. Uh, the CIA role in destabilizing and militarizing the Middle East, the CIA role in endless coups in Africa, the CIA role in any number of, thank you, Kowalski. Much love to Kowalski from Nebraska. So I think that if Max Boot could read and recognize as an adult somehow that racism is still a thing, maybe you could read some history books about the CIA. Maybe you could read some history books about how U.S. foreign policy actually works, and he could learn, and he could stop being such a baby and so freaked out about Bernie Sanders. Hope springs eternal, and as Cornel West says, we love conversions. Tomorrow, yeah, the sun's going down fast here. Very, very beautiful. Um, Definitely going to inspire more ecology coverage on TMBS. We're doing our show on Monday, hey, instead of Tuesday this week because there's a debate. And Tuesday I'll be with the Majority Report team covering the debate. Sunday I'll be in Boston with Daniel Denver and Brianna Joy Gray podcasting for Bernie, and then doing a canvas in Massachusetts. And then on March 3rd, and if you're in LA, I would buy your tickets. I'm going to be with Nomiki Konst, Nando Vila, Alona Minkowski, all sorts of amazing people. Doing a live feed responding to the Super Tuesday results, which of course Bernie Sanders is going to absolutely crush as he continues to bulldoze, locking up the Democratic nomination, beating Donald Trump, and saving the planet. I'm incredibly excited about that. It's going to be really fun. So go grab your tickets. Of course, grab your tickets to April 3rd at the North Door in Austin, Texas, the live show with Anna Kasparian and Abby Martin. I'm incredibly excited about that show. And then after that, we'll be announcing tomorrow. We're going to do a live show in June in Boston, and it's just going to be TMBS. We usually have all these incredible, amazing special guests, but sometimes we just want the team. So it's just going to be me, Matt, and David. I'm super excited about it. Don't get complacent about anything. Still fight for this like we're 10 points down. There's still tons of corporate anti-democratic impulses against Bernie. We need to fight on every single front. And please hit the like button, hit the bell. If you haven't already, go immediately and become a patron at patreon.com/TMBS. I appreciate all of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. Take good care.